old days, but nothing changed unless you change what's around you, how you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach, let it sink.
What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain, what's your plan? Is it plane? On a plane? Hydroplane? I'm just playing. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain.
The timing now. I know the timing now. I looked at the time. It's 25 seconds on the money. So you are now here with Plug with Molly and Joe. I'm Molly, the voice, of course. That is my boy Joe. Words by Joe. Y'all hear him every week, man. Listen, except for that 1 week we missed, but you hear him every week. And listen, that man got some knowledge on him. You know what I mean? Welcome once again, everybody. We're glad you tuned in. We're glad you plugged in. We're glad you're here. Joe, what you got to say to our people?
We are here for another week. New York is getting a little hot, if you know what I mean. It's that time of year. Hot in more ways than one. You know, summer is not technically here because it's not after the 20th, but it'll be here soon. And I'm just looking forward to it. You know, a lot of personal things happening, a lot of good stuff. You know, we outside.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We outside.
Right. We definitely outside. I've been outside a few times. And it's kind of weird compared to last year. Last year, everything was such a fearful, such a fear factor last year with not knowing what was happening, not knowing what's going on. I don't pretty much remember what happened too much last summer because we didn't do much last summer. Everybody was in the house.
That's
so we're talking about summer 2021 and versus summer 2020. And I don't know. It's already shaping up to be a hot one this year. I don't know what you think.
I think a lot of the energy that we missed last summer is going to occur this summer. But the good is that we're outside, that we're able to enjoy ourselves, maskless for those who are not vaccinated yet, and without masks for those who are. But then you have a lot of energy that people spent the last 16 months just dealing with.
There's a lot of bottled up energy. Yeah,
we're starting to see the effects of that. You know, one of the things that I've noticed a lot, especially here in New York, a lot of gun violence, a lot of violence overall, and a lot of it is an effect from what's been happening. You know, just people finally being able to get out and talk. You know, deal with going on. So, you know, unfortunately, that's the after effects of being of this pandemic, and I hope that it's being addressed.
Well, that's what we're going to speak about a little bit today when it comes down to the political side of things. We're going to have one of our youth bring about some knowledge, what knowledge he has, and see where we go, see what kind of changes we can make for the future, for the near future. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about also this past weekend was that BS fight. Floyd Mayweather versus the YouTuber Logan Paul.
I did not see the fight, but I've heard about it. You know, and you know, one thing I'll give Floyd a lot of credit for, he's very good with putting himself over and promoting himself very well.
Right.
You know, that's today's generation. Like, he's really good with branding. Like, his people is really good with branding himself.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where the industry is starting to lose a little money, they can always count on good old Floyd to bring some eyes to the
right. And he says as much. You know what I mean? He said that it was a patch. You know, I guess it was one of them promotional patches or what have you. You know, sponsors. One of his sponsors sort of say hit him with a patch, and he said he got 30 million off of that. You know.
Right.
Got 30 million off of that alone. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that was. I saw him slump him. He slumped him and held him up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I was obviously, because from what I'm hearing, they got paid per punch. You know, that was part of the deal too. So the longer they fought, the more money they made. That's smart. But it takes away from the value of the fight. It takes away from it. Like, I couldn't see Ali and George Foreman doing nothing like that. I can't even see Tyson doing anything like that.
Right. But aside from that whack fight, you know, we ain't gonna waste too much time on that fight. Oh, he made 50 mil. Wow, that's a
See,
lot of money. That's a
that's
lot
what
of
I'm
money.
saying.
That's Paul made 10. That's a good 10. Yeah, listen, that's a good payday for somebody who who's not a professional boxer. I mean, there's boxers right now that don't have that that kind of cash right this minute. Professionals. You know what I mean? On the agenda, we have, of course, we have our paying homage section. We have our current event section where we're going to talk about some of this politics with one of our youth. And we on all platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, Google Podcasts, iTunes Podcasts, and of course, the Evening Rush Network.com. All right, you can call into us 929-441-2417. So we're gonna go into our next segment, which is the paying homage section. Yeah, I mean, and what we're gonna do is it's the time where we give flowers to those of our past that's influenced us and influenced the things that we do today. So Joe, you can go ahead first, brother.
Well, I'm gonna start paying homage to something that's a little personal to me. And I didn't find out about this gentleman until later on in my years, that I am related, not by blood, but by marriage and whatnot. Claude Brown. For those who don't know who Claude Brown is, Claude Brown was a young man, Harlemite, grew up, pretty much wrote a book that transcended the culture of Harlem during the 1940s and the 1950s. I hear listening to my father, my uncles, my mom, and my aunts. Claude Brown's coming of age story told the story for any youth person who was living in Harlem during the 40s and 50s and the early 60s.
Okay.
One of my aunts actually married within his family, so that's how I'm related to Claude Brown through marriage. But and I want to say the book was called Man Child in the Promised Land, and it was his autobiography. I want to say that was like the original. If you ask a lot of the old timers today, they'll tell you that was the book that they first read that made them realize their story, their life is not a unfamiliar story. So Claude Brown is telling the coming of age story, and I know a lot of us have coming of age stories. Maybe when we get certain ages, we'll have our own coming of age stories to write about. I think I'm still kind of going through my coming of age story, if you will. But Claude Brown,
right. But listen, we got time, bro. We got time, and I think it's happening now. We got this show to talk about to our grandkids. You know what I'm saying? We doing something now, man. Don't look at Don't look at it any different. You know what I'm saying? We're doing it right now. We making our history now, bro. You know what I mean? I salute you for being on this journey. My guy that I'm paying homage to is the great Jack Johnson. Great Jack Johnson, the very, very first black heavyweight champion of the world. Look at him.
Real boxing right there.
Yeah.
Right in the ring with him.
Yeah, that's when they had gloves, the regular gloves as gloves, damn near. Like them gloves was thin. You know what I'm saying? The great Jack Johnson. He was the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And what he did was what was funny to me, he was out there knocking them out left and right, because it was the only competition was the white men. You know what I'm saying? Because they was the only ones that was in line to even be champions at the time. That's the reason why he became the first black champion. So he's sitting there knocking these dudes out left and right, up and down. And then what his thing of choice was that he started dealing with white women a lot. He loved white women. Like that was his thing. He you know what I mean? And to me, he was like one of the first trolls ever, like because he was definitely trolling these white men, beating them down, and then going to and then going to bed
and beat them up. To beat the women up.
Right. But unfortunately, that's where his downfall happened as well, because they set him up in a way where they were saying that he was bringing women across state lines at the time, for solicitation and for lewd acts and the such. You know what I mean? So let's say he could find a chick that was in New York and he'd take them down to Delaware or something like that. That was against the law at the time. So they set him up in that sense, and he was actually found guilty, and he fled to Europe. He fled somewhere to Europe somewhere, I believe, and he lived out his years there. You know, not necessarily in in the best way, but he finally came back, and when he came back, he actually did time for it. He still did a little time when he came back. I can't remember exactly how many years he did, or if he did years, for that matter. And to me, he didn't get enough props for what he's done for the sport of boxing. You know what I mean? I'm not sure if he left the country to be with a white woman. I would have to read up on that. But I do know that he fled the country to avoid being jailed.
Prosecuted, right?
Yeah, avoided the prosecution. But he came back and they still prosecuted him, and he had plenty of years. What I did find out also in my research was that Donald Trump, ironically, pardoned him, post-pardon, obviously, posthumously. Posthumously pardoned him, and was saying that was what happened to him was a crime of racism, and which is funny coming from Donald Trump, of course. You know what I mean? But the irony in that is quite telling, right? So with that being said, what I'm going to do is pay homage to Jack Johnson. And then I'm going to give a salute to Mr. Claude Brown, because I actually never knew about a Claude Brown. I never knew of him. I never heard of him. And that's why I like paying homage. You're going to have to find somebody, you got to do some research, do some studying. You know what I'm saying? Find a hero if you can. You know what I mean? If you can, you know what I mean? But
so many unheralded gems, jewels, so many unheralded people that haven't told their story, or the story hasn't reached heights to where famous people have. So that's what we're here. We're here to talk about those who don't have a platform, who aren't able to reach to the masses, and that's what we're doing.
Right, and that and they all play a part. Like our brother from last week. He plays a big part in the history, in carrying the history of Black folk. You know what I mean? Right. I didn't see that. What was that? What was that comment? I'm reading the comment here. Racist pardoning people for being subjected to racism. Hilarious. Yeah.
It's so ironic,
Yeah. The irony of it is quite telling. That Trump was the one that did so, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to move straight ahead, because I'm actually kind of excited for the next segment here. So we're gonna give it. Yeah, it definitely was very informative. I hope to have him on. Again. Mike Cole Jr. Yeah, what's good, brother? How you feeling today, man? It's good to see you. See you come on here a lot. We appreciate you, definitely. We appreciate everybody that tuned in to us, as it's going on live, and we appreciate anyone that comes later on and just press play. You know what I mean? Because it's always something informative. But as we move ahead, we're going to go on to current events. And current events now, so what's going on now is we have June 22nd, we have the mayoral election. But aside from that, we have a bunch of other things going on as well. And we have a young man that's going to come on and speak to some of these things when it comes down to elections. The reason why I'm kind of excited, because it is the youth, you know what I mean? And that's important, in this day and age, that the youth get it. The youth begin to understand that they hold the power to make change in this country. And the only way you can make change in this country is to be invited into the rooms that's a part of the change. You think these streets is going to make the change? No, it's not. You know what I mean? We got to get into these offices where we're given the keys, or given the funding, or given the things that's necessary to do things to help our community. So we have this young man, Jalil. Um, um, he's with, co-founder of Crew Count, right? And aside from being co-founder of Crew Count, he's one of the most talented young men that I actually have the blessing of being around. I could give you one joke, one little story about him that actually, some in some ways this is one of the kids that led me into the journey that I'm on now, as far as doing what I need to do, as far as what I'm doing with Baller, as far as I'm doing with TME, as far as I'm doing with Plug and all that. Is one day I told him about me being a knucklehead. I was like, yo, listen, I was a knucklehead when I was younger. I did a lot of, bad things, this, that, and the third. Because if I had it, who knows what my life would have been, right? And he looked at me straight with a straight face and was like, I'm glad you was an F up, because you wouldn't be here today to help us out. And I appreciated that from that moment on, you know what I'm saying? So without further ado, I want to bring in Jalil Allah. Co-founder of Crew Count. Hopefully he figured it out and get himself on here. So as he try to figure out how to get on here, but I'm going to explain the purpose of this segment is to hear from the younger generation. You understand what I'm saying? Why do you think that's important, Joe? What do you think?
Like I've said before many times, the youth thought process is just as important as ours, because we're living in the times of now. Like, I think every generation had an impact on society, and this generation is the youth generation, and their impact is now. They're not the ones making the laws and controlling certain things. They're not the ones that are doing these things, but their thought process actually helps, because it helps us think. It helps us show that. It helps us show that their mind, they matter. They're important. So, I give credit to the youth for a lot of things that's happening now, because for the older people who don't have the support system or don't have the strength to do it anymore, the youth can just pick it up and keep the ball rolling, So yeah. I really appreciate that. And that's why I think, it's very important for the youth to continue doing what they're doing.
Hey, Queens in New York City. How y'all feeling? How's everything? You guys are doing a wonderful job on your show. I tune in every now and again to catch up what you guys doing, press play on the replays. Appreciate you having the boys tuned in, because this is one of those things for the youth. And Brother Mike, yes, call in, man. Call in, man. We feel free to call in with a question. Because actually our actual topic for the day, maybe, I want to see what your take is on what we're talking about today, which is the respect for our elders and the generational gap. And I'm pretty sure you can speak to that as well. We have Jalil finally. Jalil, unmute yourself. Jalil Allah.
I'm sorry. My phone was just moving crazy with the Wi-Fi. I wasn't really connecting.
It's not a problem, brother. We here to do the show. You know what I'm saying? So my first question for you regards to Crew Count and who you are. You know what I mean? Tell me who is Jalil Allah in a sense of, because not many young men, because how old are you right now?
I'm 16 years old.
Right. I mean, it's unheard of to me to have like 16-year-olds even be thinking about politics. You understand what I'm saying? Because, sometimes people wait till they're old enough. So it's 18 or what have you. You know what I mean? So you're starting early. You understand what I'm saying? You're starting real early when it comes down to voting and thinking about voting and politics and politicians and all that stuff. So, what are the issues that's important to you? Like, what are issues that's important to you as a young man?
One of the issues that's important to me as a young man, I would probably say like public safety. Public safety is one of the main issues that I feel like we need to address, because I'm young. There's black men dying every day from gun violence, if you understand what I'm saying. But the police are not really effective. The clearance rate for shootings is only 6.3%. So we would have to find new ways to prevent shootings, because all they're doing is getting there to solve the crime, but they're not even doing that. So I don't want to be another black man that's dead on the street. My mother's sitting there wondering how her son died, who killed her son, and those other stuff because the police not doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
So I honestly feel like one of those issues I feel like we need to get police reform. Either that or abolish the police and the police department and find alternative ways like violence interrupters, such as Bevo. They've gone 100 days without a shooting in Brownsville.
Wow, that's deep. That's dope. Okay.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the candidates that we have for mayor, like, how do you got the heartbeat to, for the young, like, so you're the voice of the young right now on this show right now. And how do you guys feel about the candidates? You know what I'm saying? We got Eric Adams, we got Andrew Lang, we got a few other people. Tell me, what do you guys feel about these guys? Give us a rundown.
I can't speak for everyone, honestly, because I don't know everyone's opinion. Everybody thinks differently. No one is me. But I would say that I really hope that they do what they say they're going to do when they get into office, whichever one gets into office, because they say they will have plans. But are they really going to do what they say they're going to do when they get into office? So let's just say Eric Adams, for instance, he says that he wants to help get public safety, right?
Right.
You was a captain, you became the borough president, all that other stuff. You didn't start then. How would I know that your intentions are true to get public safety? You feel me? Right. So I just really hope that their heart really wants to do what they're saying they want to do. And they're not just reading off a script because they just want to get elected. That's how I feel.
Well, that is awesome to hear, and I personally take a positive feeling to the heart to know that the youth actually care about what's going on in society today, and they're willing to make their voices heard. Now, this is my first time hearing of Crew Count. Like, who are they? Like, what is the mission of Crew Count? Like, can you tell me like a little bit about the organization?
Well, Crew Count is a coalition of youth trying to educate other youth on the importance of voting, how to vote, and getting people elected that represent us in positions of power.
Okay. Wow. What is the mission?
To get people that represent us in positions of power in municipal elections.
Okay.
Things
and
like
what is
DA, the 51 city council members, borough president, public advocate, mayor, comptroller, things like that. People that's really going to help the community. People that's from the community, that's connected to the community, that knows the resources that we need, that we are deprived from.
Joe, it's funny that you mentioned those things because, like you said, or like we were talking about earlier, those are the real elections that need to be shown concern with, because people don't really come out to vote in those elections. All you hear is about mayor, governor, president, things of that nature. You don't really hear about people coming out to vote for controller or a DA or things of that nature, and their roles are even more important to the city than the government, from my personal view. So I think it's great that you're doing what you're doing. But what I would like to also ask is what are you, since you're what are the issues that are important to the younger generation? What are some of the things that they are concerned with nowadays? Like, how can these electoral candidates come in and show their support to you, to let you know that your voice is being heard?
Well, from the youth that I've talked to, from the curriculums that Crew Count have been teaching, their issue is really like mental health inside schools, things like more guidance counselors, and not having such a hostile environment, having school safety inside of the building. You understand what I'm saying? They don't really feel as safe as they should be. And if you're not really feeling safe, you're not going to reach your full potential. And the mental health issues will really help, because let's just say that someone has a disorder, a disability. If you're not able to pick up on that when they get older, they may be classified as a criminal because they act a certain way or they do things a certain way, not knowing that they have a disability or they have a certain disorder that they're not able to control it, but yet you think that they're moving a certain way. Oh, now they're a criminal. Now he's another black guy. That's how, because racial profile is really a thing. You get put in the gang database just by how you look. you could wear too much blue and be put on the gang database because they think you're Crip now.
Right.
You're familiar? Are you familiar with the candidates, the candidates that's running for mayor?
I'm familiar with some of them. I've met Andrew Yang. I really like Maya Wiley. I've met her. I've talked to Eric Adams. What's his name? Ray McGuire. I talked to a couple of them.
So how would you rank
Sean Donovan?
Since we are moving into some ranked choice voting, how would you rank the candidates if you were old enough to vote?
I was old enough to vote. I would even put all five. That is an option. I would even put all five. I'll just give them my top three. Maya Wiley. I put Maya Wiley up top because when I was speaking to her, she felt the most authentic. I feel like she really meant what she said.
Okay.
I'll put second Ray McGuire.
Okay.
Because I like his plan. Get to 8th grade, get a job, and then it turns year round. So it's not even summer youth employment. Summer youth employment program anymore. So it's just a youth employment.
So he was talking to the youth. Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying. Then after that, I'll put Eric Adams.
Okay. Got you. I got you. And I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. That's dope. I'm glad that you're so aware of what's going on in the now and not just in, not in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So one of my last questions, maybe it's about 2 more questions that we got before we go into break. You have celebrities who support crew count. Am I right or wrong?
You can say that. We're a little humble with it. We're not gonna say celebrities. Big names up there.
I mean, I've seen pictures with Michael K. Williams. That's one of the star actors in the world right now. I mean, like his name rings bells. I've seen the like of Nick Cannon. Right? Yeah. I mean, a controversial brother, but yet he's on the mission. He's in the fight. So you have these celebrities who support crew count. What are their particular roles toward the movement? Because I don't necessarily see them in the forefront. I see them allowing you as the youth to just sort of shine and bring the message through. So as much as they could be, you know what I'm saying, and so, as much as they could be, in the forefront and saying, I'm Nick Cannon, I'm Michael K. Williams, I see you guys. Talk to me.
Well, the point is for the youth to be in front, to be the face, to be running everything. They would just be there to guide everybody, promotion, if you understand what I'm saying. Michael K. Williams has a huge platform. Platform. You put something on crew count, thousands of people are going to see it. Promotion. But behind the scenes, they're to guide you. Make sure that you're feeling okay, doing what you got to do right. Making sure that everything is all right so you can do your job effectively.
Wow.
Okay. That's what's up, man. And what I want...
Don't tell them I told you that.
No,
This is live, bro. This is live.
It's live. They hearing it. But I got a question for you. I have a question. Do you see a lot of support from their platform? Like if they were to put you on a TikTok or Instagram live and you're telling the cause of crew count, do you see that support from their voices or from their support system?
Yes. Crew count has went live. We put it on Michael K. Williams live. Live was flicking. A whole lot of people I don't know, never seen before, never seen on Crew Count Instagram before, joining the live.
Okay.
And then I go to my live on my phone. If I'm not mistaken, the number of people at the top is the number of people that's viewing it that's not your friends, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. That's what's up.
And then it's 100, 200 people. I'm like, yeah, we getting up there. You gotta start somewhere. It ain't hit 1K yet, but you gotta start somewhere.
And listen, young man, for a 16-year-old doing this politics thing, man, I salute you. I believe you have a brother that's involved in it as well. I salute both of you guys and all the other youth that's doing it. You know what I'm saying? Understand that early voting begins this Saturday, June 12th, right? That's
yes, sir. Right? Everybody get out to vote on the 22nd.
Okay. And ends on what? June 20th, I believe? June
20th. Yep. June 12th, June 20th.
Early voting is June 12th and ends on June 20th. Regular primary election voting is June 22nd, like the young man just said. And find your polling site at www.vote. That's www.vote.org. That's vote.org. All right. And with that, we're gonna let Jalil go take a break because I think we're gonna have him back on later, a little bit later on. All right, Ja? And we need your knowledge on something else. All right, one more thing. All right.
I got you.
All right, say
Not even
less.
gonna lie, they're gonna have to start paying. Woo! I'm getting really expensive. $30 a word. $30 a word.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And with that, we're going into a word from our network.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
Wow. So I've known that young man for a few years. We were sponsored by Baller. That was the Evening Rush Network. We're sponsored by Baller, Big Appalachian Academy for the Arts. Not-for-profit organization that that's near and dear to myself and Joe.
Of course.
Instagram, we're on Instagram at Plugged MJ. All right, that's Plugged
MJ. That's right.
We're
Follow
on
it.
Facebook. We're on Facebook. That's Plugged with Molly and Joe on Facebook. But yeah, that young man is very inspiring in the sense that it goes into our next topic for the day. But he's inspiring in the sense that I've known him for I guess about 4 to 5 years now, and he's always showed that kind of side of himself where he was a little more knowledgeable than most kids his age. You understand what I'm saying? He's a little ahead of his time, so to say. And him being a part of Crew Count just shows how much of ahead of his time he is, because being at 16, yeah, he will always speak his mind. Listen, trust me. Trust me. You understand what I'm saying? That young man will always speak his mind, and you can always respect him for it. You know what I mean? When I first met him, I knew he was about his money. I knew he was about what he had to say from his heart, and I'm just blown away by what the information that he was able to give us in that short bit of time, because I'm pretty sure he had more information. What you think?
Oh, listen. In regards to that money comment that he made, we got ways to pay him, not necessarily through money, but listen, the elder's going to teach him a little something about getting paid. So that's
right. So that So let's just stick around, young man. Trust me, we got you the same. You know what I mean? We got you, man.
We got some priceless stuff for you, brother.
Listen. You might got a podcast future thing for yourself, man. Trust me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Might got a part, But going towards our topic for today, respecting your elders, the impact of generational gaps. Now, the reason why I brought up this topic is because I find today that there isn't a lot of respect of our elders. You know what I mean? When I was growing up, there was a certain sense of respect that we gave towards our elders. You know what I mean? And I noticed that there wasn't so much of a generational gap back in the days. I was able to hang with my uncles. I was able to hang with older brothers and whatnot, and they tried to guide us and keep us on a steady path of doing things that is particularly correct, or on the right path. You know what I mean? Most times. And then some of them, at the same time, you gave them that same respect, but they veered you off to the wrong path as well. So I'm trying to figure out what happened in today's time, where there's such a divide between the youth of today and the elders of today. I would say I consider myself not an elder per se, but I'm getting there. You know what I mean? And I notice personally the divide and the separation of it all. You understand what I'm saying? I don't necessarily genuinely deal with it, because I think I got a youth base around me that actually do respect their elders. You know what I mean? In a sense. But then again, they could use a lot of fine tuning in that sense as well, because they could, I think they could not go through a lot of headache in life if they just listen a little bit more. What do you say, Joe?
Well, there's so many ways that we can explain problems that exist between the generations, if you will. A lot of it has to do with the lack of not understanding how the other person lives or feels. You know, this generation has a instant gratification aspect that we didn't have, or our elders didn't have. Like, I personally, this is my personal opinion, I feel that there's no real understanding of what sacrifice means anymore.
Okay.
People are not willing to, this generation is not willing to sacrifice because everything is a given. Or if it's not a given, it's something that could be obtained very easily. As opposed to our generation and the generation before us, where we actually had to work to get what we got.
But that goes to say that, remember, that was the struggle generation. So me playing devil's advocate in a way, the struggle generation, we had to worry about, you know what I'm saying? It was a struggle to get these things. So you had to say no to your kids. You had to go without, in a sense. A lot of us grew up without, you know what I mean, in many ways. You understand what I'm saying? Some of us had the privilege to live a life where we did have, but a lot of people grew up without. And when that happens, so now this is what happened as time goes on, and this is one of the reasons why there is such a gap, I believe, as well. Time goes on, we begin to lose value in hard work. You understand what I'm saying? So work ethic is important as well. So, you know, I'm looking at it like this. We grew up with, you know, hard pressed, so we don't want our kids to grow up hard pressed. So we're going to make sure they have. We're going to make sure they have everything that we probably didn't have. So that's where the balance is. You know what I mean? We have to understand where it is that we're giving them, and they have to understand the reciprocation of the respect. Like, okay, well, you know what I'm saying? They making sure that we good. You know what I mean? I think it's just a matter of communication.
Well, let me just follow up with that. It's a matter of us letting them know the value of what we have. Like, we didn't just get this stuff to give it. Like, we have, and we want you to understand what it took for us to get it. Not saying that you can't have it, but you have to understand what the value of these things mean, whether it's materialistic, whether it's money, whether it's a household or anything. But we need the younger generation to understand the value of what it took, because if roles were reversed or lifestyles were reversed, I don't think this generation could survive the way that our generations and our ancestors' generations did.
But they don't have to. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, roles reverse. I don't want that for my children. I wouldn't want them to, you know what I mean, have to grow up how I had to grow up. You understand what I'm saying? With your head on a swivel, not knowing if you was going to make it to your next birthday. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want that in reverse. You know what I mean? So one of our commenters said, young people do respect hard work, but they learn to work smarter, not harder. And I respect that. You understand what I'm saying? But the thing is, in even doing that, we don't need the generational gap. We don't need where our kids or our youth or our young men and women can't come to us and look for guidance, look for mentors, look for people that's going to help them along their journey, make their journey that much easier. You understand what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing I look towards when I say the generational gap. You know what I mean? I don't want them to be sitting there looking up to the next drug dealer or the next, you know, stick up man. I want them to look up to people that actually is worth something. You know what I mean? Sure. And one of the comments says, our elders want you to slave and get upset that technology makes things easier. In a sense, that's what Joe was talking about. Like, he wants them to feel some of those things, you know, that you know, some of those struggles. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think that they need to feel those struggles in order to close that gap. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think that's where I'm at with it in my head. I'm looking more so of like, what is the solution? So I'm not sitting here thinking that we're here with the actual answer. This might take a couple of episodes. You know what I mean? I don't have it.
Sure. We don't have the answers.
You know what I mean? But, okay. But so now, what are some of the signs of that there is a generational gap? We have the particular attitudes towards different races and groups. You know what I mean? The elders, like, you know what I mean? Like myself, we sitting here, we talking Eric Adams. The young man just now was like, nah, I'm going with Maya, with the Maya sister, you know? So it's, I mean, you know what I'm saying, in our political views and our religious views, and you know what I mean, because remember, we're coming from the children of the civil rights era. You understand what I'm saying? They're not the children of the civil rights era. They're the children of the dudes that figured it out, that, you know what I mean, we started going to college and started getting knowledge,
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I give you that, but the example, youth are more trusting than elders due to life experiences. That's an example we could use in regards to the attitudes towards different races and groups. I think these things have to be learned. You're not going to come out understanding these things. Like they always tell you, as a child, young child or baby, you're not born into hate. You're not born into discrimination or desegregation. You wouldn't know or care if a person was black, if a person was white, if a person was this or that. That stuff you're taught.
Right.
It's up to the elder to teach them that these things don't matter. Like, how is it that the young kids are being taught these things? 5, 6-year-olds are talking about, I don't like this kid because they're such and such, or they're this. Like, you wouldn't know this. Like secondhand smoke, hate is absorbed. That's a really good point to use, because I think as the elders, our responsibility is to let them know these things will happen. They'll be challenged with them. These things will happen.
Right.
We need to let them know a forefront.
So that's where the communication, that's where we talk about communication, because the elders have to understand that the young have a message as well. You understand? Have something to say as well. They on one side of the spectrum, whereas the elders is on another side of the spectrum, with totally two different views on how to get to to what you might call the promised land, so to say. You know what I mean? We have one goal, and that's to get to the utopian society that we all dream about. You understand what I'm saying? Where there's peace and love, and there's, you know what I mean, everybody is equal and all that other stuff. And that's exactly, we have to bridge the gap. The bridge of the gap doesn't mean that the elders can't stand on their side of the bridge and the youth can't stand on their side of the bridge. The gap is so that we can do what? Be able to cross and connect. Exactly, connect with each other. And you know what I mean? It's not to say that we have to come stoop to their level. It's not that to say that they have to come up to our level. They can still be as youthful and exuberant as they want to be. You know what I mean? They can still be, listening to all the mumble rap, all they want to be. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care. Listen to the mumble rap. I don't understand it. I don't care. But I'm not going to down you for it. I'm not going to play you for it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what happens, is that we sit there as elders and start attacking their lifestyle,
generalizing them because of what they do.
Right.
That's very true. Like, you're looking at kids nowadays, and you could automatically, or what I know people to do is to put them in a grouping and say, oh, because this person's doing this person's doing that, they're going to be such and such and such and such. And that's not the case. But then that was also done to us as an extent as well. So I think that's something that's just passed on. I think what we need to do is learn to understand a lot more of each other and try to understand the concept. What I've learned how to do is know that this is what the generation is doing, what they've listened to. Even if I don't understand it, I at least know that's their generation, and you can't fault them for that, because that's what they grew up listening to,
Right. So,
or what they grew up playing with, or what they grew up doing. It's different. It's not the same. I often find myself at times being that get off of my lawn guy. I do that sometimes because just this generation, sometimes I have questions and I don't necessarily get the answers I want. But at the same time, being that guy, I also know I can't fault them for their actions, because they're youth, they're kids. This is their generation. They're living it the best way they know how.
Right. So someone said that even in our younger days, elders frowned on our music, and that is true. And the funny part about that is we didn't frown on theirs, and that's where see, now that's where the bridge is. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily the elders built the bridge. I believe in my generation, and in many people that's sitting here commenting right now. I mean, I'm not going to tell people ages, but I know they right there with me a little, real close. That we bridged that gap. I think we always went back. You understand what I'm saying? And because we was listening to the Smokey Robinsons, we was listening to the Motowns, we was listening to the Marvin Gayes. Mind you, remember, we listened to a lot of music that was before our time, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? We gave a lot. We paid more homage growing up to our history than our elders. You know what I mean? Did back then. You understand what I'm saying? Like to come back and say, okay, I'm respecting you. I think today's time is time for us as the elders to do that. Go back. You understand what I'm saying? And make it go back in reverse. Whereas, yeah, the kids may not try to relate to us in many ways, but it doesn't mean that we can't go back into, you know what I mean, and make, go in reverse, so to say. You know what I mean? Because one of the sisters says she encourages open dialogue as long as it's respectful. And that's one of the keys, communication, right? What are some other keys do you think for bridging the gap, Joe?
Oh, wow. Well, we have to, like you said, we talked about lack of respect. I personally don't feel that there's a respect between the youth and the elders. I'm not going to say anything in regards to roles, because I don't necessarily believe that the roles are the reason why it's a lack of respect. But I do believe that if somebody is seasoned or if somebody has experience in a certain factor, they would be best to hear their opinion, because they've lived it. It's what they're able to tell you shouldn't be just taken at a false hope or false ears. And I think today's generation, or just even the elders at that point, everybody wants to find their own way of doing things. There's an individualism that's being pushed in society today, not necessarily a togetherness or a community-based thought process. It's about who can do it and who can do it better. Not to say that everybody's doing it the same way, but people are just, I got to do it my way and I got to make it work. But in reality, the way that they're doing it is the same way. Like the irony in it is that every way is the same way, but everybody's just trying to put their little twist, little effects on it,
Yeah. So sister said we are raising kids in individual households instead of village style. And that is so true. Now, the thing is, it's because of so much of the trauma that a lot of people has experienced in that village mentality. Because remember, in that village mentality, that's where you have the predators, as they will call them, and I think a lot of trust issues happen in that sense. You're talking about predators. We're talking about physical abuse, you know what I mean? We're talking about sexual abuse. So I think a lot of those different mental traumas plays into why we don't go with the village mentality anymore, because trusting our most precious things, which is our children, to other people has waned in the times of all of these different abuses. So I understand where you're coming from, sis, and I believe that we can get back to that kind of style and just be more vigilant in making sure that we know the signs of what's going on with our children. That's why communication is the key. That's why when we talk about, look, we said it, right? Communication, that's one of them that's going to help us bridge the gap, right? So then we got also respect. Respect coming from the elders to the youth to the elders, correct? So then now we have that village style. You know what I mean? We got to get back to that village style where, each one teach one. You know what I mean? If I see your child doing something wrong, I got him. If you see my child doing something wrong, you got him. You understand what I'm saying? We got to get back to that kind of way of thinking, because that's where the kids begin to trust their elders again.
Well, that's when we were growing up, we had that elder on the block. We knew who she was. She saw everybody, and if you were doing something wrong, she would take care of you first and then tell your appropriate parent, and then they would handle you. You had a sightseer, and there was nothing wrong with that. That's people doing what nature, life has intended them to do. They're being seers. People look at it today as being nosy. No, that person saying something may have saved your life or may have stopped something crazy from happening. But the generation today is like, I don't need everybody in my business. I can handle stuff myself. And I just want to make one more point in regards to the traumas that you talked about. A lot of the reason why a lot of us have these traumas nowadays is because they were ignored. So when you have people in the community saying, "Oh, I've seen this experience before. This person may be dealing with such and such," then you have the individual effect. I can speak from my own personal in this, saying that you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to shame my child. I'm not going to shame my youth by telling them this. I'm going to let them deal with it, and whatever comes from it, comes from it. So I personally had that factor put on me. So, and I know a lot of other people who have dealt with stuff like that. But maybe, like you said, maybe the trauma was ignored or just brushed away because of the fact that there was nobody that they can trust to put their child's life in their hands or put their child's matters where it was important. So, like, a lot of these things tied, a lot of these things connected away.
So what we got to understand is, as elders, as we're becoming elders and such, and this is the message. The message wasn't that I was not, people might have thought that I was pointing out that the kids don't respect their elders. No, it was to bring about the fact that our elders have to understand to begin to respect these kids. And that's the reason why it was important to bring Jalil onto the show. If he could come back on, I don't know if he's still there. Jalil, if you could come back on, because we want to give value to our younger generation. We want to make sure our younger generation understand we see them, we understand them. We right there with y'all. Might not like the music too tough, you understand what I'm saying? But guess what? When you're 16 doing stuff that I never did when I was 16. When I was 16, I was not voting for who, voting for what, didn't care about a vote. One, you know what I mean? So these are the young men. This is one of the young men that's hitting the ground running, engaging in activism and community organizing. Now it's up to us, Joe, to make sure that they feel valued and respected, correct?
Absolutely.
So my question to Jalil, if he could get off mute real quick.
I'm off mute. I was just here listening.
All right. Do you believe that there is a generational gap? Why or why not?
A generational gap? As in what?
As in us being elders that don't understand the youth, or older people than us don't understand the youth. Generational gap.
Yeah, but to an extent, because history really repeats itself. And everything that the young people doing now, the old people did already. They just did it a different way. So they really understand where they're coming from. But the way they're going about it, I think that's what old people don't really. I don't mean to say old people, because y'all probably talking about yourselves. People that's older than me don't really understand, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, in terms of voting, let's say, like, if you're about 75 years old right now, you would go out to vote heavily all the time. Every time there's an election, you're going out to vote. You were there when you didn't have the right to vote. You were there during the Jim Crow. You were there when you got the right to vote, and every time you go to a polling site, there were police officers sitting there waiting for you, trying to intimidate you and who to vote for. You understand? The young people wasn't there for that. They don't. People like me, I'm 16. I wasn't there for that. I didn't experience that. I can't tell you that. Oh,
but you did experience. You did experience last year the riots and the such. You're seeing some things. You lived through the Trump era. I mean,
yeah, that's what I said. It's to an extent,
right?
Because history repeats itself.
Okay.
Everything that they were doing back then, we still doing right now.
Okay. So how do we change that? Like, if you could speak to us, talk to the older generation.
I think that we just need to, like, break the system. You feel me? Like, just go inside of it and break it. You can't break it from the outside.
Right. Okay.
But it's going to be real difficult.
It's
going to be really difficult because the way the system is, it's a functioning system. It works, just not for us.
Right.
It works for who it's supposed to work for. So we will have to get somebody who is willing to risk losing their job to get what needs to be done. We need somebody who doesn't care about other people's opinions to do what they got to do.
Okay.
Get somebody who's mayor. Mayor appoints your police commissioner, right? Police commissioner sets the rules and regulations for the NYPD. You get a corrupt mayor, you get a corrupt police commissioner, you get a corrupt NYPD. That's what's going on. You get the right mayor, and then he picks the right police commissioner. He can set the rules and regulations. Will be fun. Public safety will be the way it needs to be.
Right. It's a domino effect. Now, I have a question for you. I've always said that in order to change the system from within, you got to get rid of the old guard. You have to get people in there that are willing to change the system. There's a lot of new radical people. They call them radicals because of the fact that the way that they think goes against the system that's already put in place, right? So you look at someone like a Bernie Sanders who's been around for a long time, but he understands from what society says is the voice of the people. He understands that we need to change the system from within in order to get things to change. But then you have a lot of the good old boys and the old guard that is like, we can't have that happen because it takes away from the effect of value. It takes away from the effect of what people are doing, what their class, race, all these type of levels and labels that you put on people. It lets you realize that everybody has a right or everybody has a choice to do something. Do you believe that? Do you have do you think that there will ever be a time where the system, I won't say it'll be overridden or overthrown, but do you think that there'll be enough people to be put in the system to make it change from the inside? Do you think that that'll ever happen?
In my honest opinion,
As long as you working, true. Look, as long as you keep working.
In my honest opinion, I think it's gonna happen. Just not in my time, maybe in my kid's time.
But listen,
I started now.
Yeah,
and I paved the way for the future. If you understand what I'm saying, right? Because the way the system is set up right now, it's not even just the people that you see. People that you see is just the face. People behind the doors, this was really making the orders. But they're gonna die out soon. They're gonna die.
Sure.
No one's born racist. Kids.
The old. So you're saying that, see, and that's another thing about the generational gap that was spoken on that I was doing the research about, is that in time there's an evolution of kids that's right now happening, whereas the old guard is dying off to where you got the new age kids where they're thinking a little more
reasonably. They know what's up.
Right. Yeah.
No one's born racist. You don't come out the womb saying you hate this person because of their race.
Right.
If you understand what I'm saying. Someone 16 my age right now, Caucasian, love me. You feel me? We grow up. He decides he want to go be president. I decide I want to go be mayor. Work hand in hand.
Yeah, work hand in hand, brother.
That's why I said I don't think it's gonna happen right now, but it's gonna happen soon.
Okay, not in your time, but in your kids' time. All right, and that's actually a blessing to even hear, bro. I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. It was actually quite enlightening to have you up here. You have plenty of knowledge and stay on your mission, man. And just mind you, I hear you're a talented horn player. I actually witnessed that myself because you're in part of
that.
Yeah, I mean, he played the trumpet as well. You know what I'm saying? He's played the drums. He's a performer as well, just to let everybody know. Very, very talented young man.
Anything you need me to do, I'll do it as long as there's some money on the line. You need me to play tennis. You need me to play tennis. Put some money on it, I'll play tennis. I'll be the best tennis player ever.
Here's what I want to say about that, though. Let you know, it ain't always about the value of the money. You can learn without having money, So
that's true.
So
that's true.
What I would say to you as the elder is whatever is beneficial to you doesn't always have to be monetary. You can learn something from everything, and there's value in what you learn. So it's not always about the money, but I will say, as long as it helps you financially. As long as you're financially benefited from it, I get it. But you always also have to realize there's wealth in here.
Yeah, mental
wealth oversees the financial wealth. So, but you keep this to get more of the monetary on the financial wealth, if you will. So never forget about this.
And what's pretty dope is that last week we played it out. It didn't do it. We didn't do it on purpose, but it played out perfectly because last week we had one of our elders up here. You know what I mean? And he was kicking knowledge based off of from where his life had took him from to now. And then now we have one of our youths who's here with a different kind of energy. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that, bridging the gap comes from the likes of myself, you, Joe, and then as we get down the line, you know what I mean? I think the gap has to be something that is a collective effort. It ain't got to be just the elders. It got to be the people that's in the middle rung, the 30-year-olds, the 35-year-olds, the 20-year-olds, the 28-year-olds. You know what I mean? I think that's where the divide is also is that there's people that don't think that they're part of that mission because they're caught in the middle in their midlife crises and such. You know what I mean? But what we got to do is we closing remarks, man. I salute you, Ja. You doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing.
Continue doing that.
Yeah,
No
man.
problem.
Continue. Like, get more kids on your mission. Get more people your age on your mission.
Trying.
Because
We're
I
trying.
promise
That's why
you, if they see you doing it, they'll do it too. Like, don't
That's
lose
why-
faith in what you're
That's
doing.
why Crew
Continue.
Count hosts block activations.
Yeah.
Crew
All
Count
right,
hosts
good
block
brother.
activations. It's a big part. It's basically a big block party where we get people to come out and register people to vote. Trying to get the word out there. Trying to get more people.
Well, here's another one of our good brothers had a question. He said, how can
What's the question?
how can you lead younger people to following your path? How do you recruit? How do you promote? Like, let the people know. So we have some youth that may be interested in Crew Count or, being part of organizations like Crew Count.
Well, you can't really be a part of Crew Count. Can't really say that. I really don't know how that works to join Crew Count. But what I can say, you can be civically engaged without being in an organization at all. Even watching the news is civic engagement. You understand what I'm saying? Going out to tell people to vote on June 22nd, you go out with signs telling people to vote. Go to the polling sites, making sure everybody is going to vote. That's helping us in every single way.
That's what's up. You ain't even say you ain't got to be part of Crew Count. It's be civil engagement. You heard the word from the young youth. Civil engagement. Get out there.
Civically engaged.
Yeah, yes. Do something for the youth, for the community, man. Civil engagement. You know what I mean? Yeah, you ain't got to do the Crew Count thing. You ain't even got to get your own organization. None of that. What you got to do is just get involved. Period. You know. But with that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out. Any last words, Joe? John, appreciate you, man. You go ahead and get back to whatever you was doing, brother. I know you're a young man doing a lot of things, man. Peace.
Right.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you, young John. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Closing remarks. Just like you said earlier, I love how we just bridged the gap on the show from the elders to you. So we're showing an example of how it needs to be done.
Right. Gave a perfect example from one week to the next. You understand what I'm saying? And it tied right in. You know what I mean? And we ain't do that on purpose. We were sitting there on Sunday. You tell them you was stuck. Like you was stuck like Chuck. And I just came with it. Boom. You know what I mean? And it came from that. It came from the top. Like we just had an elder on. You know what I mean? What does that look like anymore? Like respecting our elders and such. And they say, what is the generation gap? Like, you know what I mean? What could our youth learn from something from that man as well as ourselves? And then, like you said, it's a trickle down effect. It's a domino effect. So what we learning from our elders, you know what I mean? We take it among to ourselves, and then we keep passing it down, and it'll reach the 16-year-old. You know what I mean? So instead of trying to skip past generations, we might as well just try to pass it back to the 40-year-old, you know what I mean? And then the 40-year-old passes to the 39-year-old. And as we keep going back, you know what I mean? I mean, that's the best way, right? Everybody's involved, right?
That's right. Everybody walks the road, just people do it at different speeds.
Yeah, man. And with that, man, I hope everybody got something out of this show. That's my main man, Joe. I am Molly the Voice. This is Plug with Molly and Joe. We are the Mental Warriors. I keep telling y'all, we bring you something every week. That's a little something to think about, man. That was a 16-year-old warrior in these streets. Another 16-year-old mental warrior. He thinking about making changes for his kids. It ain't even about him, he said. You know what I mean? Think about that. At 16 years old, he already understands that his life is nothing. It has nothing to do with him. It's about his legacy. It's about the cause and its legacy. You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, I want to say thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for all the questions. It drove the show right through. I love everybody, man. Peace.
Peace.